In Conversation with Terry Shepard, award-winning broadcaster, narrator, and author. A deep dive into the writer's craft with the artists and support systems who create the stories we love.
Thanks, Lisa. It's a pleasure to welcome our good friend Oline Cogdill to talk about her favorite books of 2024. Oline is a freelance reviewer for the South Florida Sun-Sentinel in Fort Lauderdale, Publishers Weekly, and Shelf Awareness. She's also in her 8th year as a judge for the LA Book Prize. Oline received the Raven Award from Mystery Writers of America for her contributions to the craft. It's great to be with you, Oline. Welcome.
Thank you, Terry. This is a pleasure to be here, and I really appreciate the invitation.
So many great books were written in 2024. How did you distill your list?
Okay, that's a good question. I review 10 to 12 books a month, and it is a labor of love. Every review is a labor of love. If I didn't love it so much, I would just say no. But I start working on my list the day I start my first book for the new year. So I've already started working on my list for next year because I've already read 2 books coming out in 2025. And it's not easy because I think the mystery genre just gets better every year. There have been so many wonderful books this past year. It's been another stellar year. And I would love to put every book on that list, but that would be impossible. One of the things I'm looking for always, and this is going to sound like, oh yeah, duh, rich plots, diverse characters who are really fully realized, vivid settings. You know, there's so many good stuff going out there. And this past year, I saw a lot of what I call rural and small town settings that really are just so vivid. And, you know, it's just not easy to do. But again, it's a labor of love.
Let's dig into your list. Did one book stand out from all the rest for you in 2024?
My favorite book of the year is called The God of the Woods by Liz Moore, and it's published by Riverhead. And it's a story of a very wealthy family who have this sense of entitlement. And they also have a very troubled history. There are 2 children who've been missing through the years. There's this dark, thick woods that lead to a lot of suspense in the back. It's a very tightly coiled novel, even though it moves from the 1950s to 1975. This is a family. They are a banking family, and they have this camp in the Adirondacks. I'm mispronouncing. They bought this camp years ago for kids, and it is not a camp you really want to send your kids to, but they get a lot of wealthy children going there. And it's really about the family and how each generation they've discarded people who worked for them, who no longer are of use to them. And at the center, too, is these children. And you feel so much compassion for them. Liz Moore she's a really terrific writer. Some of her other novels have been on my best of the year, but this one just really rose to the top. That said, my first 5 books were all so good that any one of them can be first. And I go over this list, Terry, all the time. And up until the moment I filed it, I was also, should this be number 2? Should this be number 3? And finally just had to let it out to the universe.
Do sales play any role in what books make your list?
You know, I'm going by the book, not the marketing, not the author, not the publisher. On my list before, I've had books from very, very small publishers. So I don't care about the sales. I care about the reader. I care about the person who's going to go to the bookstore, hopefully an independent bookstore, and find a book that they want to read or that they want to give to a friend. That's what my goal is.
Freelance book reviewer Oline Cogdill is our guest, and we're going over some of her favorite books from 2024. What's next?
The Waiting by Michael Connelly. I love Michael Connelly. I think he is the most consistent living mystery author we have today. He's never written a bad book. And The Waiting is billed as a Ballard and Bosch novel. It's coming out from Little Brown. his ongoing character has always been LAPD Detective Harry Bosch. But in this one, you wonder, which Bosch is he talking about? There's Harry, who is, he's now retired. He's looking at some health issues. He's had a wonderful career. But we're also looking at his very smart daughter named Maddie Bosch. She's a police officer. She has ambitions of becoming a detective. And she wants to work for Renee Ballard. Renee is a character Michael introduced like 4 or 5 books ago. Again, a very tenacious detective. She was mentored by Harry, and now she's mentoring Maddie. So it's Colley's giving kind of a Bosch legacy in this book. And she runs the cold case unit. And it's very interesting that, the cases that they go after and try to solve. And the waiting, it's a Valentine to Los Angeles. It takes readers to various neighborhoods. And it also looks at LA's crime history. And I try to do very little plot because I don't want to spoil it for anyone. But The Waiting, again, it's one of Connelly's best novels, which, every novel he puts out every year is always golden.
We all have our favorite authors that we return to again and again. Who is on your list?
Dennis Lehane, though he's not writing as many mysteries as he did before. He's more working into television now. Laura Lippman is a favorite. She writes about Baltimore. Allison Galen has a book coming out next year, which I'm very excited about. It's like so many books, so little time. I love Alex Segura. I love Attica Locke. Wanda Morse has 4 books out, and she's just terrific. I mean, and every year I have a different gold standard, but there are certain novelists that I will always try to read. And I don't care about their sales or not. I just care about the world they bring us into.
One of my favorite things about following an author from the start of a career to the present day is watching them grow in confidence and skill.
Oh, Terry, that's a joy of my career. When I have an author that I've read from the very beginning, like Michael Connelly, I read his first novel and reviewed it. And then to see them have this great career and just keep putting out really, really good books, each one better than the other. Oh my God, it's just such a joy.
Oline Cogdill is our guest. You can find her on Facebook at oline.cogdill. And we're reviewing a few of her favorite books from 2024. What's next?
Okay. The Puzzle Box by Danielle Trussoni. And it comes out from Random House. This is the second in her series. And it's about this guy who had a brain injury and has left him with the ability to solve puzzles at a glance. I mean, the most complicated puzzle he can look at and open up in just a few minutes. He writes crossword puzzles, and it's a terrific character. And he's hired by the imperial family of Japan to open what's called the legendary Dragon Box, which has been sealed since it was built in 1868. The thing is that no one has ever survived an attempt to open the box because it's just loaded with all these lethal traps and poison, and it's just impossible to open. So of course they call on Mike to open it. And it's a plot that it combines Asian culture, female samurai, which I didn't know existed, lots of puzzles, a terrific little dachshund, which is his comfort animal, and the character of Mike is just such an interesting character. What he's been through with this brain injury, he kind of leads a solitary life. And people who love puzzle mysteries, this definitely fits in with that.
One of the things I loved about this book is how the bad guys were actually bad girls.
Oh yeah, which is fun too. This is a new series. The Puzzle Master was last year's. And so this is the second one, The Puzzle Box. Really good read. Number 4 is Havoc by Christopher Boland, and it comes out from Harper. I really like Christopher Boland's books a lot. A few years ago, his A Beautiful Crime was, I think, my top book of the year. He always sets them in very exotic settings that you really feel like you're there. And in Havoc, it's set in Egypt. And it's about this, it's kind of, I build it as Miss Marple meets the bad seed. And it's about a meddling old woman who has kind of a history. And she's living in this shabby chic hotel on the banks of the Nile. And she kind of runs the place. I mean, she's a resident, but she kind of runs everybody. And there's this little boy and his mom check in. And he's a cute little 8-year-old boy. And let me tell you, he is malicious. And they are just kind of go after each other, pulling pranks and things that are lethal. And it's just such a fun read.
I love how Chris creates his characters. And in this one, it's the fun dynamic between the 8-year-old and the 81-year-old.
Right. You know, you don't think of those two people as being opposed to each other, and they definitely are. A few years ago, A Beautiful Crime was set in Venice. And it, again, he looks at the shabby chic area. And it was about two men who are just starting their relationship. And they get caught up in this heist and con game involving a wealthy American. Terrific, terrific book. Then I go on to the next one. Guide Me Home by Attica Locke. And it comes from Mulholland, publisher. Attica Locke has done some really amazing books. Unfortunately, she's been doing a lot of television writing. She worked on, I think, Empire and some other TV shows. And this is about wrapping up her trilogy about a Black Texas Ranger named Darren Matthews. And very much minds his emotional landscape. He wants to be a good person. He thinks he's a good person. But there's a lot of layers to him. And this is a final outing with Darren, and he considers his twin uncles who raised him, the Rangers who gave him his career, his very manipulative mother, and why he is estranged from each of those things in his life. Attica Locke is just a terrific author. She has a couple series out, and I highly recommend her.
You can find a full list of Oline's 2024 faves at sun-sentinel.com. To be respectful of audience attention spans, we'll look at a couple more before we sign off.
The Hitchcock Hotel by Stephanie Warble, I think is how you pronounce her name, comes from Berkeley. And this is about a man who is the ultimate Alfred Hitchcock fan. His name happens to be Alfred, too. And he's built his life and business around this obsession with Alfred Hitchcock. He has a hotel, and it's very much like the one in Psycho. And he fills it with all these trinkets and clues from Hitchcock films, and he invites his closest college friends to come for a 4-day weekend. Well, what could go wrong?
What's your favorite debut novel of 2024?
I think I'm going to go with Blood and the Cut by Alejandro Jodorowsky. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing a name. I'm so sorry. It comes from Flatiron. And it's set in Miami. And it's very much of a kind of a hard-charging look at South Florida gentrification, family ties, the Cuban-American culture, and how Miami is constantly changing. And also takes you to the Everglades, which is always fun. And it's about a young man who is seeking redemption for his criminal past. And he's trying to grapple with who he is and how he spent the last 3 years in prison and how that has changed him. And he's released shortly after his mother is killed. And it's a really terrific book. It's very hard-boiled. Alejandro has a really strong voice. I'm looking forward to seeing what else he can do.
And how about the short story space?
I try to include a short story collection or two, and there was like four this year that I included. One is called 8 Very Bad Nights, a collection of Hanukkah noir. And it's 11 stories. It would have been better if it was probably 8 stories, but each one's really a stellar story. And it's not about the religious significance of Hanukkah, but rather events that kind of happen around it, including family gatherings, personal reflection, uncomfortable realities. Holidays bring out the best and the worst in people, I think. And this is just a really terrific collection. And let me give one more. Highway 13 by Fiona McFarlane. And this comes from Farrar, Straus and Gill. These are 11 linked stories, and they're a unique look at a small Australian community that has been affected by a serial killer. Now, the murderer died in prison. He's named, but we never see him. Instead, the focus is on the aftermath of what he left, the havoc, the evil, and the trauma that people go through. You look at when his parents first met. You look at an actor who's playing him in a TV show and how it's affecting him. The school principal who used to be his neighbor, and he used to cut her lawn, and how she was affected. And also I think there's a story about the people who moved into the house after he was sent to prison. Very interesting collection. I really enjoyed it.
How do you find time to read so many books?
It's my job. I'm sorry, I can't go to that party I didn't want to go to anyway. I have to read. Or, sorry, I will have to miss that family dinner. I got to read.
With so many books crossing your desk every year, what are the factors that get you to open one and take a look?
Well, the thing is, I do open every book that comes in the house. I will take a look at the dust jacket, the plot, and I will take a look at the first 10 to 20 pages to see if it's grabbing me. Most of the time, by the time I get to the first 5 pages, I know maybe this is not for me. And, I wish there was a magic formula, because really it comes down to my gut reaction of what I'm looking for and what can bring me into that book. I love debuts. I love authors who are trying something different. Maybe they had a long-running series and they want to do another character. There's so many other factors that go through. I also look for diversity. I look for different characters. I look for different settings. I grew up in a very small town in Missouri, so I'm very drawn to rural areas. My father was a farmer, so I know those people, and I like that world because I know how people from small towns and farming rural areas react. And, I like big cities too.
Oline Cogdill graduated from the University of Missouri with a BA in journalism and has been writing and editing ever since. She's considered the gold standard in the field. Her complete list of best books of 2024 is a great read. Find the article online at sun-sentinel.com. Oline, let's do this again.
Thank you, Terry. And to everyone who's listening, happy reading. Buy books.
In Conversation with Terry Shepard is a copyrighted presentation. All rights reserved. I'm Lisa Davis. Join Terry Shepard next time in Conversation.